welcome to Pitch Perfect, FrontFundr's monthly online pitch event. Once a month, we invite some of the companies running campaigns on our platform to come and tell us a little bit more about their mission, their motivation, and what they plan to do with the money raised from their campaign. Joining me today, we have Chris Greenfield from TipTap and Keith Riley from RenovationFind, and perhaps a few others will join us later on as well. Each of them are going to give us a 5-minute pitch about their business, followed by 10 minutes of audience questions. And that's really your chance to find out anything you'd like to know about these businesses. So please make sure you send your questions in for them too. So I'd like to kick off with Chris from TipTap. Let's get to it, Chris. I'll hand over to you if you want to share your pitch, and away we go.
Thanks for having us. I want to obviously introduce you to TipTap, which there, okay. So I want to introduce you to TipTap. At our very core, we're the world's smallest and simplest payment receiver. We essentially replace cash and coin with an easy credit, debit card, and mobile wallet acceptance device. But really true and at our core is really our purpose, and our purpose is to really help those who need help the most. And more than ever now, charities are suffering with some of the lowest collection rates ever. But the demand has multiplied more than 6-fold for their assistance. So we help more people in more places tap to give. At first, the global movement towards cashless economy necessitated a small cash and coin alternative. And COVID has only increased this demand, really for a completely touchless payment and touchless giving solution. So we've seen a change that was really expected to take 5 to 10 years, actually take less than 5 months. People have moved now from cashless to now touchless. And that's especially prevalent in the US, where we've seen consumer preference go from 35% for touchless to now over 75%. And that's now starting to encroach on some of the other, or come to compare to some of the other global markets like Canada, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand, which are already predominantly cashless. We're also seeing retailers demand cashless solutions now. So previously their preference was in cash, but now when you're going, whether you're going grocery shopping or you're going to events or anything, the demand now is to use some form of plastic or a mobile wallet. And that's really where our solution comes in. The overall market size is absolutely massive. We're seeing 90% of transactions forecast to be digital. And the overall market size globally, that's going to be well over $3.5 trillion. This $3.5 trillion was actually looked at prior to COVID. Our solution, it's simple, it's easy, it's fast, it's effective. It provides a customer experience that's easier and faster than cash. You can really put it anywhere. You don't require an additional device. There's no clumsy Wi-Fi connection. All you do is you give it a simple tap, and what you see is what you pay. The use cases and integrations are endless. They're unmanned. Really, you can put them anywhere where you use cash and coin. Now you can use TipTap. But with TipTap, what you'll see is you'll see real results. Just a few examples. We did a national program, and we'll be expanding into the US with the Salvation Army. We delivered over 1,000% ROI, and we were at 75% of their kettle locations across the country. And without us, with these, the kettlebells unmanned, they would have collected 0. So with us, we actually saved their campaign, and their overall campaign was at a record, and they broke their plans. In terms of another sector is definitely transit. Just one customer looks at about 8 million in terms of total processing volume. That's almost a $250,000 in profit for us. And that's a single small and medium size transit association. And at this point, we can actually claim that we're the world's smallest and most economical open fare collection system. In the coming months, you're going to see us roll out at all Tim Hortons across North America, both inside the stores, but also at their drive-throughs, collecting funds in an effort to support their camp foundation. So this is just the beginning, and we need your help to achieve our purpose. We want to scale our device. We want to continue to expand our full solution lineup that you can see there on the slide, as well as expand on our comprehensive campaign optimization platform that provides real-time reporting. Our goal is really to help more people across North America, but really around the world, to give more, collect more, sell more, and experience more. So thank you for taking the time to listen to our pitch, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
That's a great pitch and truly a great product, Chris. Thanks for telling us all about what TipTap is and how it works and kind of what your mission is as well. As you mentioned, you ran a hugely successful campaign with the Salvation Army over the festive periods. I wonder if you have any other similar upcoming partnerships or campaigns you're excited about or you can share with us?
Oh, yeah, we definitely do. So whether it's, I actually have a customer calling me right now. So whether it's Canadian Cancer Society, whether it's UNICEF, Red Cross, Save the Children in Italy, Ronald McDonald House in Australia, New Zealand, we're working on a massive customer demand. Even animal shelters, hospitals, healthcare. We expanded our team quite rapidly since December, and we're quite overwhelmed, but we're trudging through it. We're automating the process so that we can take on more customers, and so far we haven't had to turn anybody away, but we'll just keep hiring people to manage the onslaught. So
absolutely. And looking ahead, one of the things that we did when we were kind of in the run-up to this pitch event was a quick straw poll on our social channels, asking people, what's the most important thing to you when considering an investment? And I think it was 90% of people said growth. So can you talk to us a little bit more about your customer acquisition plans and what those look 6 months, 12 months down the line?
Sure. So at this point, we do have an acquisition, like a proactive acquisition strategy, largely social, sharing stories of our success, working with associated networks that are involved with the different sectors we're focused on. But we haven't had to activate that at this point. Right now, we're just working with the demand that is incoming, and we're managing that. So at this point, we're focused on the larger, more global charities, because once we do one region, then we go global with them. So we're largely focused on that. We had 5 main customers that we focused on last year. We have 15 main customers we're focused on this year. Total, we'll probably have at least 1,500 programs in market, if not more. We'll be in the US by actually in the next month and a half with some pilot programs. And then by mid-year, we're going to be able to accept payments globally with a strategic partnership that we have with Visa.
Definitely loads going on there, and I think 2021 is the year to watch, right? I've seen a couple of audience questions come in, which is great. Please do keep them coming. There's a question here about transit applications, and the question is if you have any specific discussions with BC Transit or others for your device.
We've talked not specifically with BC Transit, but we've talked to Calgary Transit, which is primarily still using cash and tickets. And then a number of the other regions like St. John's, Peterborough, Albuquerque, these kind of regions. And then also some tourism bus line. I think it's Rocky Mountain Bus Tours or something as well, but nothing specific with BC Transit. So we'd love to though. Yeah.
In time, I guess. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we have a industry consultant that's helped to actually install the Vancouver transit system, and he's working with us to build out that sector for us.
Sure. I've got one eye on the clock here, so I'll try and get a couple more questions in before we jump to the next pitch. And as well as growth, I know something that a lot of investors often like to know about are exit strategies. And I've seen a couple of questions come in regarding sort of what TipTap's exit strategy and time frame look like. So maybe you could discuss a little bit about your IPO plans, any timeframes around that, or how you see that developing too.
Yeah, so we're on the cusp of obviously massive growth, but that growth also has to be funded. So that's partly why we're doing this round. We're also obviously some of our investors are like Canaccord and Lead Jones, and these are some of the largest investment brokers or investment banks, not only in Canada but in the world. So it gives us a line to additional growth funding if required. What we're really looking at is at this point, we've been, most of our manufacturing and most of our hard costs can be funded through low interest debt. And then we save all of the equity funding for really growth and expansion. So we're going to do that until we're at a reasonable level. We're working with an IPO consultant group that's been recommended to us by Canaccord. And they're directing us towards the right time when we might do an IPO, whether it's this year, next year, or the year after. It'll be based off of market conditions and our growth trajectory.
I guess a great way for people to kind of keep up to date with that, it's just something, either to follow the campaign page or your socials and your email list, because I know you keep people very up to date with those things as well.
Yeah, the LinkedIn is probably our best, especially if it's a business or investor related track that they want to keep informed on. Thank you.
Absolutely. And one question I'd like to ask all of the pitch participants that we have to kind of tidy up the pitch and the Q&A is, what would you say to anyone on the call, on the event today, who's considering an investment in TipTap? Why should they do it?
It's very easy. I would just say take the next few days to think when you use cash and coin and imagine a TipTap in the place, and then just imagine all the use cases beyond that. Then imagine the charities and whether it's the homeless people or others that need help, and without cash and coin, you can't do that, but through our system you can. So think of all the use cases, and then think of all those people out there that together we can help.
Great stuff. Well, Chris, thank you so much for the pitch and for answering the questions too. And we shall now jump on to the next one. I did mention we have TipTap and RenovationFind with us today. We also have Hardbacon. So I'm now going to jump over to Julian from Hardbacon to give us his pitch, and we'll have questions after that. So Julian, if you want to share your screen, we'll dive into your presentation.
So I'll present myself. My name is Julien Bro. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hardbacon. Hardbacon is a mobile app that connects to people's bank account and investment account and help them make better financial decisions. So the first aspect is the plan. So basically, people can add goals to the app, a little bit like a lot of personal finance app. Where we differentiate ourselves is that we always plan the retirement. So, and each goal is linked. So you cannot have multiple very expensive goals if you don't have the revenue for it. The app will stop you. So those are not calculated. It's an actual plan. But the idea is for people to do it themselves. So it's less sophisticated than a financial planning software designed for advisors. The other part is the budget. A lot of people at all income level will spend all their money. That's human nature. So basically, it categorized transaction. Where, let's say you go to Walmart, it's going to be categorized shopping. If you go to Subways, it's going to be categorized as food. And you can set limits. So we can actually predict, during the current month, it seems you're going to go over limit in your restaurant category. And investment, obviously, we started with investment, and we kind of went wider to kind of capture a wider audience. So we're the only app compared to the budgeting and there's the Mint and so on. We're the only app in Canada that can connect to the investment account and also understand what's inside, because we have the financial data from a different data provider. So we know, for example, if you have a fund, is it an equity fund, what sectors this fund is invested in. Same thing for stocks, so people can have access to a portfolio analysis based on different factors, whether volatility, sector allocation, and so on, and can also learn more about the fees and the performance of the different investment they have, and they can have a consolidated view or just look at a specific account. So that's kind of the overview of the app. The final thing that we do, and I would say one of the most important in terms of investing in our company, is the save money category. So basically, we help people find the best financial product for their need. We do it on the web and on the app as well. So people can use different criteria to find, let's say, a card that will have some insurance or give reward points and so on. But the cool thing is that since we already link to their bank account and credit card, we can calculate which is the most profitable credit card, or which brokerage account would charge a less fee depending on your usage. And those things are kind of complicated to modelize. I feel if someone would want to do the research by themselves, they would have to spend at least a month entering stuff in Excel, because there are a lot of different bank account and credit card and brokerage fee structure out there. So that's how we make money. Basically, the financial institution pay us for each client we refer them. So basically, where we position ourselves is that the traditional industry, including the other lead generator, because there's the Rate Hub and the Canalys of the world, they do content, people search for it, or they do advertisement, and then people go to the website, either of the financial institution or of Rate Hub, and then see a credit card, click on it, and then you get yourself a new client. The philosophy with Hardbacon is that before the person even know they need something, we're gonna suggest it to them. So whether we with the financial plan, for example, the person said they would buy a house in 2 years. When this 2 years mark approach, let's say 6 months before, we're going to suggest the best pre-approved mortgage product. Same thing for home insurance. So there's a lot of ways we can suggest stuff. We can also detect like a life insurance payment in the bank account. So the idea is that before the person know it's renew, we could actually ask them to renew it. Same thing with the credit card. Maybe the credit card the person have don't give much points, and the person could earn like a $500 per year more by switching credit card. We're going to tell the person. So the idea is to come before the person know they need something. This is kind of the competitive landscape for financial lead generation in Canada. So the biggest player in Canada are definitely Canalys, which owns Rates.ca and Rate Hub. Those guys have websites, so their weak point, they're really good at SEO. They have a lot of traffic. Their weak point is that once someone comes to their website and convert to a product, they have no idea who this person is. They don't have an application, and they don't know what their future needs. So even if they sell them like a mortgage, they don't know what credit card this person would be interested in, and they're in the newsletter, and they're probably going to receive non-focused. Like right now I receive a lot of stuff for people with low credit rating, and it's not based on me, it's just based because maybe they see that people have bad credit right now and those product convert. So the concept of Hardbacon is really to convert as much people as possible into registered user, and then they either connect their bank account, credit card, or answer a couple questions. Obviously, we're going to add as well the credit score rating, which is important for lead generation. And how we compare to Mint, and Mint have the budgeting, but they don't have they don't scan the whole world of financial products. So they're going to have credit card offers usually, but they're not even personalized to the user. Credit Karma and Borwell will have kind of a credit card targeted toward the credit rating, but they don't know how much the person spent and so on. So it's not really helping you finding the very best credit card, but it's a little more targeted. And at the end of the day, neither those guys like Borwell, Credit Karma, or Mint are really in the lead generation business. I would say the lead generation part of their revenue is insignificant. So the idea is that we compete with, big websites that didn't invest in technology in Canada, and that's our goal, and we want to consolidate the market in Canada as well. So that's kind of conclude my presentation. I knew I had to make it short, so I cut a couple slides, but I'm I'm willing to answer any question you guys have.
Oh, thanks, Julien. Short and sweet. And I know, as you said, kind of this is a pretty broad topic, right? But there's plenty more information on your campaign page if that's piqued anyone's interest.
Yeah, like the original deck has 26 slides, but I've been told that I give too much details.
Yeah, we had to trim it down for this into 5 minutes. I wanted to start with a quick question about sort of the context of where we are right now. Do you think that what's happened in the last 12 months has made a service like Hardbacon more or less relevant, and how? And how is that reflected in kind of, you know, the number of users you see using Hardbacon?
Yeah, so it was an interesting year, to be honest. Definitely, like in the logically, like this is really good for us because what we're suggesting is digital customer acquisition to the financial institution. Also, consumers tend to take care of their personal finance when there's economic uncertainty, and it's no wonder why, like the last crisis in 2008, 2009, we saw Mint that was founded, I think, just a little bit before the crisis, but that's when most of their growth happened. Then they got bought by Intuit. I think Wealthfront and Betterment were founded around those same years, 2008, 2009. So we saw actually in March when the market crashed a lot of downloads, and we expanded this in 2020 from about 1,000 active users to more than 5,000 today. So it impacted. There was a positive impact on the B2B side, where we sell software to financial institution. I would say that, you know, right now, digital customer acquisition and our tools are basically for that are more important. So right now I'm completely struggling to, you know, find the time to eat between two meetings. But I would say in March, it was just a shock. And basically they were all working in like, let's use video conference and DocuSign. That was the first step of, you know, digitizing the customer acquisition process. So basically a lot of our cycle kind of got interrupted from March to August. Since August, you know, and the new confinement didn't have any impact because they were ready to operate in this context. So globally, it was good. It had an impact on our revenue in 2020, but overall, I think it had a good impact on us.
Yeah, absolutely. Things go up, things go down, but you've come out of it stronger, it seems, definitely. I want to jump into a couple of user questions now that came in during your presentation. Yep. One is from someone who used to be a Mint user, and they changed away from it because they had to do a lot of manual categorizing, which was quite painful for them. And so the question is, how does Hardbacon compare to Mint in terms of categorization for users to know where they're spending their dollars?
So, I mean, there's a limit to categorization because let's say that you buy your groceries at Walmart. I can't, like, our software cannot know you bought groceries. So, you know, maybe at some point we figure out a way to check the receipt, but right now it's impossible. So it's going to be shopping. So if you want to, like you did your groceries and you want to put it in groceries because you have a budget for groceries, then you need to categorize it yourself for it to be accurate. But we have a pretty strong categorization. And the cool thing with categorization is that, you know, it improves as our users recategorize stuff. I would say for the smaller independent retailer, like a lot of, you know, those software that categorize are built in the US and they have a coverage in Canada. But the fact that we're a homegrown, like we care about, you know, even if it's an 8 location thing, like we're like, oh, they don't have that. So we make sure that we improve it. So I would say, I think it's a little better than Mint, but you know, it's hard to, the recategorization, if you want to track a precise budget, it's going to happen. Like you might get Interact e-transfer from your sister. Like, is it revenue? Like, we don't know. So you're going to have to categorize that because probably by default, it's going to be categorized as revenue. If it's a loan, then you need to say it's a loan and so on.
So I guess the categorization is there as kind of a guide and it will do the best it can, but there's a certain degree of kind of manual categorization required to make it the most accurate it can be.
Yeah, it depends for user. Like I have like employees that, you know, and users as well that want everything to balance and to know exactly how much they spend. Like, oh, like cigarettes, is it groceries? Or like, personally, I think a lot of users, are so crazy about those things. And the general categorization, like for a restaurant, like sometimes I go over my limit. So I have a budget, but I don't categorize every single transaction, and it gives me an idea. It tells me that I usually spend too much on restaurant. Even if the restaurants are closed, I guess I still order.
Oh, we all do. We all do. I'm going to ask one more question and then one to kind of wrap it up so we jump on to the next pitch. But there's a question here about how Hardbacon connects to investment accounts information. So basically, how does the user connect their investment account information at another institution with Hardbacon? So does it require the user to manually input data, or does Hardbacon pull all of that information for them?
So it's the second one. Basically, they're going to share their credentials for most institutions, and we don't copy or take any trace of those credentials. They're directly transmitted to different providers depending on the institution that do the screen scraping, and then it returns all the position with dates and so on, and we can calculate returns. So it's not just a money account, because for people that use Mint, you connect an investment account, and a lot of them you cannot connect, but those you can connect, it give you a number. Oh, this is 50,000. When we connect to a financial institution, we look at the transaction history and what are the position, and then we understand that. For some institution like Wealthsimple and Questra, more modern ones, we use the API, so there's no sharing of credential. You just log in through the web view in the app, and you authorize Hardbacon to access your data. I think this is the future. This is open banking, it's coming. And finally, for people that whether have like assets in another country and we don't support the institution, or they just don't want to connect it, you can actually use the search and build the real accounts position by position and transaction by transaction. This would be long. If you want actually Hardbacon to calculate your returns, you would need to input not only your position but also the transaction that led to those positions. So it's kind of long, but it's a way to unblock, let's say that you have an asset that you cannot connect or that you don't want to connect. It's possible to input it manually.
Sure, makes sense. I guess the final question, the one that I like to ask everyone, is say I have an extra $500 in my pocket this month, and I'm thinking about what to do with it. What would your answer to the question be? Why should I invest that in Hardbacon?
Basically, because you see the same opportunity that we see to bring more transparency and help Canadians make better financial decisions. So obviously, we're a small company. It's equity crowdfunding. It's risky, but the potential is much higher than anything else. So that would be the reason.
Excellent answers and a great pitch as always, Julien. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate that. I want to hand the mic over to Keith from RenovationFind now, who's going to walk us through their campaign. So Keith, over to you.
Thanks for having me. Everybody, my name is Keith Riley, and I am the founder and CEO of RenovationFind.com. RenovationFind is a research-based platform that connects homeowners with the most trusted home improvement experts in the industry. So I'd like to share with you kind of the backstory and the reasons why I started RenovationFind. So my background is actually in construction. So I started a granite countertop company back in 2006. I grew that with myself and a partner. We grew that to 13 employees. We do over $2 million a year in sales. And along the way, we had to learn a lot about marketing, advertising, and we met a lot of homeowners. So being one of the last trades in a house after a big renovation, we heard a lot of homeowners getting taken advantage of. They were putting deposits down. Contractors were disappearing. There was a lot of shady work being done. There was a lot of bankruptcies. And after they took their money, there was no way of going after these contractors. They declare bankruptcy, disappear, and you couldn't touch them. So I decided to kind of research that problem a little bit more. Like, why did I keep hearing about this over the years, and figure out why this kept happening? And I found that the only platforms that existed were kind of review-based platforms on the internet. And in our industry, there's a lot of fake reviews, right? So I saw that there were major problems that needed solving for both the homeowners and for the contractors. So for the homeowners, the problem was just being able to find a home improvement company that they could trust. For the contractors, it was the lack of marketing knowledge to grow their business. So I wanted to come up with a solution that solved both of those problems. For the homeowners, we're a web platform that has vetted and continually monitors companies on 7 important criteria. And for the contractors, RenovationFind is a certification program supported by digital marketing services. So when hiring a contractor, homeowners should always ask their contractors to see copies of their license, insurance. On RenovationFind, we do this for them. So we do make sure that they send this in. You can see that on their profile. But our vetting process and our continually monitoring process also allows us to see real-time data of when a company is being sued or if a company is not paying their trade partners on time. So we've been testing this process over the last 6 years since we started, and we found it to be very successful. We've kicked off a lot of companies from our platform that were still listed on review sites with over 500 amazing reviews that later went bankrupt because we could see some of those financial issues that they were running into. We're very proud to share that we have broken the $1 million annual recurring revenue milestone, a big milestone, and we have over a 70% retention rate. The goal for the next 3 to 5 years is to expand all across Canada and partner with 18,000 home improvement companies nationally. This would put our revenues in the range of about $70 to $100 million a year in the Canadian market alone. You know, we've done a lot of the heavy lifting over the years, proving out our business model, building a sales team. Everything we've kind of done and all of our processes have been done with scale in mind to kind of grow. We're now ready to grow the company, and you know, we hope you decide to join us on this exciting journey. I'd also like to thank FrontFundr for this opportunity. We've had feedback over the years of our homeowners that use our platform and our contractors that have been with us and growing with us, and they love it, and they wanted an opportunity to invest in our company and kind of give back. So partnering with FrontFundr has allowed us to offer this opportunity to our users and our contractors. So, you know, thanks for that. And we're at 79% of our raise, and we have a little less than 30 days left. So if you want to help protect homeowners and help grow this company, please invest in RenovationFind. Thanks, John.
Great pitch, Keith. Thanks a lot for that. And as you said, entering the final 30 days, and you guys are well into your 80% there. So definitely a campaign that's trending, and one certainly worth checking out. I know that you and I had a quick call before this session earlier this week, and we were discussing kind of how 2021 has been going. And you said that it's actually been really, really busy on the renovation side, not only for your campaign, but you know, you've hired new salespeople, you've closed a lot of new business, and sort of anecdotally, I actually read the other day that something like 4 out of 10 Canadian households are planning a renovation project at some point in the near future to kind of, you know, accommodate their new lockdown life. So I was kind of wondering what you see as the effect that COVID has had on the appetite for home renovation projects, and how you're going to capitalize on that.
Yeah, it's been a crazy year, the COVID year. We were hit really hard as a company in March. We were our revenues were on track to hit about 150,000 in March. We did 60,000. So we hit about a $90,000 hit in March. There was a lot of panic going on from home improvement companies, didn't know what to do. But what we quickly saw was in April, our website traffic actually doubled. The home improvement projects really started to roll in. So there was people, I mean, you always have the home maintenance that's going on if you're a homeowner. So we had that happening. But when people were spending so much time in their house, they needed an office or they needed a backyard because they weren't going anywhere. So yeah, we saw a lot of uptick in projects actually coming through our platform. The the ramp up for us, I mean, on average, just on home improvements, they say average Canadians are spending over $10,000 a year on their house, right? So it's not just, you know, we're not just renovations, it's ongoing maintenance. You always need a plumber, your HVAC breaks down, something happens. So yeah, we kind of saw this year, we actually had a 13% growth over 2019. And that's during a COVID year. So we see now that things have kind of calmed down and there's not as much panic, vaccines are rolling out, there's a lot more confidence. So we hired 3 more salespeople at the end of the year, and we got them ramped up and trained, and we're, you know, almost finished our capital raise. So we're using some of that money to already expand. And this month alone, we're hit over 90,000 in revenues. So come out of the gate this year doing really well, and expect our goal this year is really to double what we did last year. So we're on track.
That's great to hear. And as you say, you know, kind of this year has been, or last year's been, a fairly unusual one. But I think those long-term habits are going to stick, right? People are going to be working from home more often than before, and perhaps looking for a larger place sort of outside of cities. So definitely something that you guys can capitalize on, I truly believe. And thinking about that, you mentioned in your slides that I think you're already on more than $1 million annual recurring revenue, and you have a 70% retention rate. So what figure do you have in mind for your recurring revenue 5 years down the line? And can your retention rate get any higher than 70?
Yeah, so our retention rate, like in some of the SaaS businesses, you probably want a higher retention rate than a 70%. But with our platform, we're actually a betting platform. So we don't want all of the businesses that are listed with us. We do see after a company renews after 1 year, we've kind of gone through that process with them, our retention rate is closer to 80%. So as we onboard, it's that first year where sometimes we do the background checks, but they're just not really engaged in what we do. They don't really care about the certification. They haven't done anything, and you know, they could care less. So we don't want those type of companies. We want the companies that care about customer service, that care about the certification. Those are the kind that we want to build. So it'd be around that 80% is ideally once we grow big enough. That's what we'd like to hit. Our recurring revenue mark, like I said, the 18,000 businesses across Canada is about 1% of the home service businesses in Canada, and that is our goal. And that would put us in between 70 to 100 million ARR.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's some impressive growth numbers you have right there. I want to jump into some audience questions that I've seen coming in. There's one about revenue, and the question is whether you collect revenue from both the user, that is the homeowner, as well as the contractor, or is it more focused on one side?
Yeah, we do have a membership program where we don't really focus on the homeowner membership too much. Last year's revenues were about $50,000. From the homeowner side. Most of the revenue does come from the contractor. So how the process works is the contractor applies to be certified by us. If they meet our requirements, we offer 3 different marketing packages to them. So they would be certified, and then they could do other marketing, digital marketing with RenovationFind. So that's how we don't take a percentage. So we're not taking a cut. So if a homeowner hires them, we don't get a 20% or 5%. They're just paying us to monitor their company, to give them that certification, and then there's some other digital marketing within that. So it is the contractor that is paying most of the revenues.
Makes sense. Yeah. Another question that comes to mind is kind of in a similar way to FrontFundr. RenovationFind is basically a marketplace. You're connecting the homeowners on the one hand with the contractors on the other, in the same way that FrontFundr connects investors with the companies. So who are you targeting more with your growth strategies going forward, and how are you doing it?
Yeah, so that's building kind of a marketplace is always a tricky thing, right? You need the chicken and the egg, right? You read a lot about the Ubers and the Airbnbs of the world. And with us, you know, we've done a lot of home shows in the past to really kind of target the the homeowner and the contractor. We've built up a lot of our processes and our strategies online now. And you still need to equally spend time on the homeowner. The homeowners are the ones ideally that we're trying to protect by finding the good contractors, and the contractors are the ones that want to be in touch with good homeowners, right? So we do have a few strategies, and most of them being digital strategies. Obviously, with COVID hitting, you know, we were relying a lot on home shows in the past, and there are not a lot of home shows going on right now. So we've kind of had to adapt and really go after that online.
And I guess just to kind of wrap it up, I'd like to finish with the same question again. Sort of, what would you like to say to people who are on the call, or anyone else that's thinking about investing in RenovationFind? Why should they do it, and how would you put that to them? Yeah, I mean, as an investor, I think you got to look at the market, right? Technology right now is hot. Home improvements is hot. This is a great time to get in. We've proven our business. We hit $1 million ARR. We have a lot of our processes in place. So right now it's about growth. So I think, you know, if somebody has a passion like we do for really protecting homeowners and helping the good contractors connect with homeowners, I think it's a great opportunity for anyone to invest, not only to get a return on investment, but to be a part of kind of changing the home improvement industry. What's been going on? I'm sure a lot of homeowners have heard of friends getting ripped off or taken advantage of, and I know a lot of contractors are not happy by being undercut by, you know, fly-by-night companies. So I think this is a great opportunity to be a part of this. Great stuff. Well, thanks a lot for the pitch and for answering all of the questions as well, Keith. We have, I'm delighted to say, time to fit in one more pitch, and that's going to come from Matthew Homan at Neuvote. So Matthew, welcome along. Great to have you with us. How are you?
Very good. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks. Not too bad. We'll kick off with your pitch, if that's okay. So if you want to share your screen and go through the pitch with us, and then we'll jump into the questions.
Not a problem. Thank you. Just give me
Great.
1 second. Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining me today. My name is Matthew Homan. I'm the CEO and founder of Neuvote. We are the developers of the world's first hybrid mobile voting system, the full title of which is the Hybrid Mobile End-to-End Verified Voting System. It's long, it doesn't roll off the tongue, but it conveys all of the key selling points to our clients, which is why we chose to go with it. We are looking at raising $100,000 through FrontFundr right now. Originally, we had about a $500,000 round, but we've actually filled quite a bit of that in through private equity right now. So the overall valuation is $4 million. The equity split is about 2.44% right now. So elections. If you've turned on the TV, opened the newspaper, or been online in the last few months, I'm sure these are a very topical issue at the time. The problems that we've seen with the elections, and this is before COVID or any of the issues in the US manifested, were low efficiency and high costs. Elections are a very expensive thing to run for a government. There's a lack of accessibility. I think we all understand going in and voting in person is a very arduous process. In the US, it's a huge disenfranchisement issue. There are manual voting errors. Those, of course, became clear in the US this last election. The very slow vote counting process, again, very topical. The delay in the publication of election results, I'm just repeating myself at this point. The complex logistics. So it is a very complex thing to run out an election, especially when you get to a federal or provincial level. But right now, in this particular industry, priority number one is the COVID issue, health and safety. How do you run an election successfully through when you have major lockdowns happening? And in the US, they elected to do vote by mail, but that wasn't without issues in and of itself. For a jurisdiction, for an election management body, the ideal solution has always been online voting. It's the natural evolution of this market. Voting processes have always historically implemented electronic systems to augment the voting process throughout history. Now we're looking at online voting as a natural evolution of the $26 billion election market. But as we've seen quite clearly in the US election, particularly, paper ballots are essential and a legal requirement for national and subnational elections. We're never going to move away from them. So we're actually in complete agreement with that statement, despite us being an online system. So when we developed this program about 3 years ago, we baked it in with the paper ballot in mind. And so what our system offers is a application that allows the voter to vote remotely, a remote access management dashboard for the election management body to monitor everything. But we actually connect voters to a printer and a camera on the other side where they can actually see their paper ballots be printed out in real time. And we are the only mobile voting system with paper ballots that confirm the visually the real-time confirmation of the paper ballot as it prints. And we've secured everything with the cutting-edge Microsoft Election Guard security platform. So how the process works. A user votes, they confirm their selections, they elect to print, they see the paper ballot be printed out via the camera on the remote printing device, wherever the election body decides to put it. And then they have the ability to verify their vote using the Election Guard SDK. Basically, it's a full end-to-end solution, and it allows voters to both see their paper ballot be printed out, but then also confirm that their ballot was counted accurately, despite it being handled remotely. So, you know, in the typical voting process, when you put the paper ballot into that little box, that's it. You're washing your hands of any further engagement with that paper ballot. You have no idea if that vote was counted accurately, but we do trust that the system operated as it intended. With our system, it provides something called end-to-end verifiability, which is a major enhancement to the process, which allows the voters to confirm, not reveal who they voted for, but actually confirm cryptographically that their vote was accurately tabulated. It is a purpose-built technology that's been researched and developed over 30 years by some of the most notable cryptographic and cybersecurity researchers in the world. So how are we approaching this industry? As a small enterprise, we understand we're taking on quite a big challenge, which is why we have actually brought together some of the largest companies in this space to work with us to really get this thing off the ground. So we have a current partnership with Microsoft. They've handled all of our security, cloud services, and deployment support. CompuGen is a service integrator located in Canada with operations in all of North America. They are a specific election service provider, so they handle all of our technical support, client success. FaceTech is our liveness detection, voter verification, voter management, and voter registration service. FaceTech is the same technology used by our MPs who have chosen to do remote voting as well in our parliament. And we partnered with them over a year ago. We suggested using them to the Canadian government. We're really happy to see the Canadian government accept them as their preferred verification system as well. Xerox is our partner that handles all of our printing hardware and deployment support. So we've brought all of these companies together. It's been a huge undertaking to get everyone to get this done, but we're very happy with the result because now we are basically able to go after any and all election regardless of size. So as we stack up against other online voting providers, yeah, pretty much all of them are internet connected. That's quite apparent. We are the only one to provide full end-to-end verifiability, which is becoming quite possibly the most notable election security measure being implemented to date. We enhanced mobile app security. There's two companies that provide app voting. We are one of them, but we are the only one who provides paper ballot voting with the visual ballot confirmation. We do not hold any data on a server, which is again the major security issue facing online voting historically. We overcame that by keeping everything on that super awesome paper ballot. And we are risk limiting audit compliant. Risk limiting audits are what happens after the election. It's what happened in Georgia this month. It's just a standard procedure, and we are the only one to be able to have that happen because we have, again, the paper ballot. In this technology field, we have 3 pending patents for the digital paper voting technology and our voter verification service. How we price the market. We charge $1.25 roughly per voter. So there's a guaranteed minimum, meaning a jurisdiction will say, we have 80,000 expected voters, so they buy essentially 80,000 licenses. If only 3 people vote, we still get paid for 80,000 because there's an expectation that those people will be using the service. We have volume pricing, it goes down the bigger the election size. Pricing example is roughly 60,000. Our revenue would roughly be 75,000. Our targets are EMBs, election management bodies. The global market is 26 billion. We have the ability to go after traditional election markets and online voting jurisdictions because we have the hybrid approach with the paper ballot. Our total serviceable market that we are going to right now is in Canada, US, Europe, Central and South America, pretty much anywhere because the demand for this thing is through the roof right now. Our target market, of course, is focused exclusively in US, Canada, and Europe, but I will say that we already had operations in South America at this time. Our pipeline right now, we began selling this and going to market in essentially November officially, and our pipeline just shot through the roof. We are daily daily engaging with cities across Canada. We are already working with clients inside the US right now. We've done a proof of concept in Sao Paulo, Brazil in November. We did our first test at Brock University with Canada's leading expert in online voting, a globally renowned researcher named Dr. Nicole Goodman. Our pipeline to date is 2.99, just short of $3 million. And our conservative estimates, our base case estimates for 2021 were $1 million. We've already superseded that exponentially. So that's the presentation. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of questions. If anyone would like to ask me anything, I thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today, and shoot me any questions you may have.
That's an absolutely fascinating pitch, Matthew, and I think it's something we can all agree is, as you said, a super relevant topic and something we can definitely all get behind. I guess the first question I had is, can you tell us a bit more about the history of the company? You know, where did the original idea come from? How did you get to where you are today, and who's in your team?
For sure. So I started a project in 2015 called VoteNote. It was an election application to bring information together. It was a great project, but people heard app and vote, and they reached out to me across the country and said, can we vote online? I responded, of course, no, but we decided to really look into it. So my background is in cybersecurity, specifically energy companies. So you have that sort of what you would call an air gap model, where you have to disconnect the service from the internet to be truly secure. And so we tried to apply that methodology to voting, which is exactly how we came up with the paper ballot method. Take the data from the vote, pass it over the network, and then remove it from the system altogether, host it on the paper ballot, and then realistically, you've created something called security parity in what you'd see in a traditional election. It just made sense back then. It was sort of like a weird implementation, but over the years now, we've been more than validated as just, basically coming up with the best solution possible, and that's why we've seen exceptional growth over this last year. When systems have really been pushing for online. Our team is comprised of myself, our VP of Development, Richard Turton, our CFO, Chris Kaplan, and to facilitate, again, the high level of security and infrastructure needs that we would have to acquire to build what we're hoping to build, we simply hired the best election technology developers in the world. So that election guard component that was produced by Microsoft, we simply went to Microsoft and hired their development team. So the same people that built Election Guard for Microsoft are the developers for Neuvote. Quite literally the same team. In fact, from time to time, we actually lend Microsoft our developers to work on that project if they need to ramp up a little bit. Our technology, the Election Guard technology, has been in use in both the US Congress already to date. And there is a press release I'll be sharing on our campaign page that talks about the work that Microsoft and our company have been doing together.
That's some pretty strong validation, I would say. Kind of lending your own team back out to Microsoft. That's amazing.
It's a headache sometimes, to be honest with you.
Oh, I bet, yeah. You mentioned, I think, in your slide, talking about the total addressable market here worldwide is something like 3 billion people, I think, and that you're focusing on, North America and Europe in the first instance, and that your pipeline kind of almost exploded overnight. Just wondering, like, where do people hear about you? Where do they find outbound? Is it an inbound thing? Are you very proactive on kind of reaching out to these people? Good network that you have from before?
I'm going to preface everything. So one of the reasons, or one of the strategies we had going to market before COVID, was we understood that the critics that are typically the ones opposing online voting were something that we had to address early on. So before we even talked to a single client, we actually went to the hackers, the critics of online voting, and said, here's what we've done. We want to run it by you, because before I threw all my life into this work, I wanted to know if we were going to be able to pass that measure. And what happened was we have actually a fantastic relationship with the research and academic community. There's another thing I'll be sharing on our campaign page later today with Canada's leading critic, like the guy who basically put online voting, or put like how do I say this, killed online voting in Toronto because they brought him in as an expert. Last week, we did a 3.5-hour podcast where he talks about our technology and why we are quite possibly the leading vendor right now. And we needed to get that thing done. It was just inevitability. So when you ask how we are reaching out, direct sales, of course, we're reaching out to these jurisdictions, election management bodies. But when people go to these consultants and ask, hey, you're an expert in this particular field, which company is doing the best job right now, they're recommending us. We've actually had we had our first US contract come in a couple of weeks ago. And that was, again, a recommendation because somebody reached out to an expert and they said, hey, you got to check out this company. This is what you're looking for. And somebody from one of the states came out and said, hey, we're really interested in working with you. We'd like to sit down, and we have an election or a by-election coming up in March. Let's sit down and talk. So it's both direct sales. It's a small community. They're all public figures. They're very accessible. They're all known people. We don't have to really track anyone down. We know who the role is. So a jurisdiction will have a designated person always that's assigned to run the election. But again, due to the relationships that we've fostered over the last few years, we are getting a huge percentage of our leads right now coming in from recommendations from people who typically would not be happy with online voting. I think we've done a really good job at fostering that in the relationship.
And that's, in a sense, the best validation you can have for your product or your service, right? Other people saying, this is great, check it out. It would work really well for you as well.
Best marketing is word of mouth, is what I always say.
Oh, absolutely. That's what we all strive for.
Yeah.
I want to jump into a couple of audience questions here as well. One is regarding regulations, and the comment and the question is sort of that EU regulations on the whole tend to be a bit stricter and a bit more stringent than they are in North America, broadly speaking. And the question is whether you have any cities or countries or perhaps municipalities that are showing some interest in the application within Europe, and how you're kind of navigating that perhaps slightly different or stricter regulatory framework.
Yeah, so the typical restriction that people may be referencing is the Gdpr compliance, which regards data. As a voting company, we are like data adverse. In fact, the less data we hold, the better off we are. So we don't typically really want to manage too much data. And that's why, again, our implementation with the paper ballot works so well. We haven't gone after Europe, but I will say this. One of our advisors for Neuvote is the person who just wrote the requirements, like the technical and operational requirements for Switzerland, which does do online voting already. They do it at the national level, and they've been running it for a number of years now. Again, the expert community, we reached out to him, and he's the one who, again, wrote the requirements. And we said, hey, we want to start looking at Europe. You guys are obviously the chief experts in this space. Would you like to work with us in defining those and making sure that we are compliant? We haven't pursued European opportunities as of yet, because right now the Ontario market is through the roof. But when we go after them, we have made sure preliminarily that we are completely compliant with any and all data issues or regulations facing the European market.
I guess it's a positive problem to have that you're so busy, you've got your hands full here, that Europe will come in due course and due time, I guess. But as you say, you're ready to take it on as and when.
Yeah, Europe, it all depends, right? Because there is a sort of like a European regulatory body that defines a lot of the specifics for Europe. But for elections, it's very much so left up to individual countries on how they manage their election system. So what's something, it may work for Germany, it may not work for France or vice versa. It's very independent. And that's why you kind of have to tackle countries independently. We look at like the US, for example, is very different from Canada in the sense that Canada has central bodies running elections. The US, it's county by county. You could literally be in like LA doing an election and then go to Fresno, California and have a completely different system in place. So it's very unique. In Brazil, which we are operating in, they actually have a single election body that manages all elections across the board, not just federally. So it's very diverse.
Indeed, it is. Yeah, I want to squeeze in a couple more questions just before we wrap up. I know we're a few minutes over already, but quick question about one of your advisors and in relation to Dr. Goodman and sort of the role that they're playing as an advisor on your application and the type of guidance they're providing and kind of how they fit into the dynamic.
Dr. Goodman, we just have a working relationship. So Dr. Goodman and Alex Essex particularly are Canada's leading experts. So I've known them now for a couple of years. Dr. Goodman is, again, like when the federal government wants to do online voting, that's who they call. When a municipality wants to do it, that's who they call. So we don't have any sort of advisory relationship. We're just colleagues. They've been actually working on standards for online voting within Canada. Neuvote is a contributing member to those standards. We fully believe in the work that they're doing at kind of reining in this industry. And yeah, no, it's a friendly relationship. They do a lot of work that's very parallel to what we're doing. When they advise a government, like they make their suggestions, we listen to those suggestions, and that's kind of how we've developed this product. As we've led up to the development and R&D of what became Neuvote, it was based on a lot of the work Alex and Nicole had done. So when we first interacted with them, when I met them, I simply walked up to them at a conference and said, hey, I built a system based on all of the criticisms that you guys have defined over the last like 10 years. What do you think? And so, and because we, you know, we're very transparent about our operations and how we and how we kind of built the product. For example, we offer white box testing. If you wanted to take a look at our source code, we're more than happy to do that. And because of our sort of the way we're approaching this industry, you know, it's instilled quite a bit of friendliness, I guess, with their side of the community, which is typically, again, very skeptical and very opposed to online voting. I'll say one final thing, like the Dominion issue, of course, it's on top of mind of what happened to that company. And people have asked us how we differentiate. My reply is simply Dominion kind of brought it on themselves. They refused to work with people like Alex and Nicole for so long that when skepticism really emerged and people said, hey, what's going on here? We don't know how this whole thing operates. It's like, well, of course you don't. You know, like everyone's been behind the curtain for so long. Neuvote operates completely wide open. Like we're more than, if anybody, if you wanted to reach out and say, hey, we want to figure out how this thing works, we would be more than happy to sit down with you. We offer white box testing, we offer source code review. Again, we bring on hackers. Well, we literally reach out to them and say, hey, I know you hack voting systems. Do you want to come and hack ours? And that's just a different approach that we feel is really going to instill trust and security in our development. So just the way we do things.
Well, certainly, and that's, as you've already alluded to, kind of crucial in anything relating to votes or the kind of the broader notion of democracy or sort of things like that, I guess. I just want to tie up with one more question, which is regarding an exit strategy. Where do you see the company going in the future? Are you looking for an acquisition move, an IPO, perhaps something else?
Yeah, so we've always had the anticipated exit of, or expected exit of either an IPO, acquisition, or something like that, or you know, like it's hard to say right now where we're going because we're really like shooting through the roof. My ideal, I'll tell you as a founder, my ideal, because of the nature of the relationship we've built with some of these larger companies, I'm working already on positioning ourselves for an acquisition, because what I would like to achieve as a CEO is getting us up to a certain level where we, you know, bring on that extra external help to really take us to a global enterprise. I'm a global citizen. I've traveled around the world my whole life. So I have I really want to turn Neuvote into a fairly significant global player. It's elections. I think Canada is unique in the way that we're a very democratic, very open society ourselves. And I think we can lend ourselves quite well to the global election space by leveraging that Canadian branding, I guess, and providing secure, transparent election services to anywhere that would need it. So.
Well said indeed, yeah. Just one final thing, I've asked all the other pitchers as well, is what would you say to anyone on the call that's considering investing in your campaign? Why should they do it?
If you would like to be, I got into this business to make voting accessible well before the need for online voting was so prevalent. We truly wanted to make a democracy an improved process. It's my life's mission. And like before COVID happened, this was going to be a long road that we were more than happy to take, you know, right to the end of it. I'm more than dedicated to see this through. And if you want to be an investor and take part in this journey and help improve our elections, help prevent some of the things that you may have seen over the last few months happen to other countries or even our country itself, that's the kind of investor we want. We are an exceptionally passionate team. For us, this isn't just a job. This is like a life mission, and we hope to truly improve the democratic process, no matter what it takes. We want investors to join in on this journey, and you know, if we are capable of doing what we hope to do, you know, we're going to have a place in history, and that's why what motivates us. If you would like to join us on that and have your place as well, we're more than happy to have you.
Matthew, thank you so much for your time and for sharing the Neuvote mission with us. That was great stuff, and yeah, thank you so much. I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. If you'd like to find out more about any of the campaigns that we've had on the session today, you can of course head on over to our website and check out each of the individual campaign pages. And we will of course be sending a follow-up email over the next few days with more information as well. I'd like to say a huge thank you to Chris, to Julien, to Keith, and to Matthew for taking part in the event today, and of course to everyone at home as well. I hope you found it informative and insightful. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I look forward to welcoming you in the February Pitch Perfect event. Bye.